What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of DT Podcast. How is everybody doing today? Back once again with the notorious, fantastic, beautiful, and strong-looking Burt Green from the Burt Locker. Burt, how are you doing, my friend?
Tell you what, with intros like that, you are nipping at Bruce Buffer's heels, mate. You are just nipping at them heels. That was a wonderful intro. Don't know what I did to deserve that intro, but tell you what, really brightened up my night. Sure did.
Well, I speak fact and I speak truth only. You know what I mean? And we've done a few episodes together, Bert. We're starting to get to know each other. So. We met online, but that's not a grinder moment. It's mutual respect from two dudes who like to podcast and talk about MMA, right?
Exactly. There
you go. I thought you'd fill the gap there as I took a swig of my beer, but there was the most awkward silence, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh, he's going to swing his beer, right? Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So what's going on, man? How have you been? Have you enjoyed life since we spoke last?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, other than my neck, I've trapped a nerve in my neck, which is fun. Apparently, it's just a couple of things you have to accept after you get past the age of like 35 is that you are probably going to hurt yourself when you did things that you could normally just do, and it's probably not really a tragedy anymore if you die.
Yeah,
you want people to go to your funeral, die before 30.
For real, man. I remember like getting into some horrific like accidents at the gym where you're pulling muscles left, right, and center. You're taking 2 or 3 days to recover, and you're just back at it in a few nights. But nowadays, man, I don't know. I'm 38. I sneeze on a cold morning, I'm out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, man. So why are we here tonight, man? We're here tonight because it's been a long time since I did a podcast. I like to do a few every week, at least 2 a week. But life got very busy like 2 weeks ago, and I did like 2 shows that were not my best work and didn't put them out because I looked tired, I felt tired, and I don't want to just put shit out there just for the sake of getting it out there. I've been watching your stuff, man, and you're still killing the game. You're venturing off into NFL. Yeah, man. Tell me about that. What? I mean, you've got the love of the sport, all right, but you're very knowledgeable about it, and you're starting to get me interested. What the fuck?
I've between like they're my 2 favorite sports in the world is like mixed martial arts and NFL, very, very closely behind. Also nipping at their heels is NASCAR, quite frankly. NASCAR's a fantastic sport, absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen what Ross Chastain did in Martinsville in 2022, just YouTube it. Thank me like later. Do it after the show, but YouTube Ross Chastain Martinsville 2022, and you'll understand. You'll immediately be like, okay, all right, I'm in. But yeah, NFL, I've been following it for years, probably the best part of 10, 12 years. And I just love it.
There you go, man. It depends. Like, I mean, obviously there's people like different sports. I had some great conversations during the week with some colleagues about this question that came up on Instagram. And if you really think about it, it's very thought provoking. Why are some sports, like especially sports with balls, why are some sports like golf and snooker dictating to the spectator that they have to be quiet and respectful? And then you got sports like basketball and football where all these other like spectators can just hurl like the most rotten abuse at everybody. You got a point? Go for it.
I do have a point to that. The reason is for the most part in like basketball, football, all these things they're taking that it's all happening real time, right? Whereas snooker, golf, darts, they're lining up a very, very precise shot, because you'll notice even in basketball when they're lining up for free throws, the crowd shuts the fuck up because they get told to shut up. Same in rugby. In rugby with the kicks, with the conversions, even in American football with the field goals, the crowd generally gets told to look quiet down because these guys are trying. Like, you're trying to line up a shot. There's a difference between lining up a shot and kind of the free action of free play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for real. And that translates then across to MMA because you talk about being precise. It has to be on the button for the punch to land for it to be effective. And then you look at pride, you look at the Japanese fighting, you look at the silence in the crowd when there's a fight happening. I don't want to name drop. I talked to Bass Rutten about this.
It did.
And he talks about like when you fight in an arena full of 15, 20,000 people, you could hear a pin drop. Not only can you hear like someone cough in the crowd, but you can hear your coach and get just like instructions, which is phenomenal, I think. But yeah, it's just interesting the way some athletes get hurled abuse at them while others get the respect of a quiet crowd. It's an interesting topic for discussion.
Well, in Japan, it's very much a difference in culture as well, because I don't know if you've seen there's a World Cup on,
Yeah.
and after Japan, I think they beat Germany, like, and their fans and their players actually stayed behind after the game and like picked up litter at the stadium.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a difference in culture, is what it is. You know, I think everyone should be maybe a little bit more like them in some ways. Just there's a lot of respect there. I like the
Yeah.
respect, but I'm also a Chael Sonnen fan, so.
Yeah. Did you see? Yeah, I don't know, was it the Euros or the World Cup a few years back, where the Irish fans? I think it might have been Poznan in Poland. Was that the World Cup or the Europeans? Whichever was in
Um,
Poland, anyway.
you're
Oh,
asking the wrong guy, really. I
yeah,
do watch the international tournaments, but I don't really follow them like religiously. I
yeah.
watch England when they
There
play.
was like a car got damaged because of the crowd, and all the Irish fans started gathering euro and started pushing it into the window of the car to help the owner pay for the damages. Dude, it was fucking
Oh,
phenomenal.
that's nice.
Yeah, yeah, it was really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but the Irish are fucking fantastic anyway, so
They
everybody
are.
knows that, you know.
They're a fun. They're a fun bunch.
We are a
Yeah.
fun bunch.
Yeah.
But I was talking to some friends this afternoon about because I was telling them that I'm going to do a podcast with you tonight, and they're like, "Oh, you do a podcast? What's it about?" And at lunch, I had listened to a friend of mine who's been on this show. She talks about like the powerful self. She talks about meditation and spiritual guidance and mental coaching and how to deal with life and whatever. And I watched one of her podcasts, like her Instagram live podcast today at lunch, and it was just she was talking about the most spectacular things that we do on a daily basis, and I felt uplifted watching it. And then I thought about what I talk about on these shows, and I'm like, right, there's levels
But
to this shit, you know.
to be fair, that it's a completely different style of podcast. It's a completely different style of like it, because it's the same with my podcast. I do it because it entertains me first and foremost, because I don't get enough viewers for it to be like about the viewers at this point, because it's if I don't enjoy doing it, what am I doing?
Yeah,
And yeah, I do it for me, and I do it because I just like talking about this kind of stuff. And if it goes somewhere, that's great. If not, then what did I lose? Nothing. You lose nothing by trying, and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
yeah.
that's Michael
It's a
Scott said that.
That's a beautiful cliche, man. You're like a David Robbins.
Who's that?
He's a motivational speaker. He comes out with all these wonderful things on Instagram. You gotta do it for yourself. You gotta
Did you
be
say
who you are.
David Goggins? Sorry.
Did I said David. Did I not say David Goggins?
I don't know. With Jamie, roll that back. Hey,
Yeah.
Jamie, could you bring that up? So,
Pull it
no,
up, Jamie.
yeah, I know David Goggins. Yeah,
Yeah, all that type of stuff. Tony Robbins, there's David Goggins, all that, all the stuff that it's
I
basic
think you
common
said
sense.
Tony Goggins.
Did I say
That's what
Tony
confused me.
Goggins?
I think that's what confused me, because I've
Yeah,
heard of Tony Robbins and I've heard of David Goggins, but I've
yeah.
never heard of Tony Goggins.
There you
So
go, man.
that really,
But that's what we do here at DT Podcast. We fuck up. We fuck up. We learn from our fuck ups. We fuck up again. We learn again. And the cycle repeats itself. That's what we essentially do here.
speaking of DT podcast, what's been going down? What's going on? Because I've noticed certain things on the social media. Do you want to talk about it, or yeah, am I ambushing you here?
I can neither confirm nor deny any such details of privacy through my attorney that I will be used specifically to talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I say we, it's me.
Yeah.
There's a lot I can't say. There's a lot I can say.
Mm,
There's a lot I will say. But
okay.
our Instagram page is no longer, and I have set up a new one. I used to run. I say run. I used to post on an alternative page, called the Meme Life Coach. It's basically just a dig at all the life coaches out there that spout the obvious. And I post things like people like falling over and doing stupid things and breaking things and, all funny shit. So I renamed that page because the other page is no longer under my control, or it was never under my control. I was just part of the page.
Right.
And those privileges are no longer with me.
Ah.
So I have to, adjust, adapt, and move forward essentially. So I have renamed the Meme Life Coach Instagram page now. It's a new one. So the previous one, and any of my loyal listeners, please unfollow at DT underscore underscore podcast and follow me on at DT underscore 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 podcast. 3 underscores, motherfuckers. We don't
Yeah.
just 2 underscore this, but
It's better than two underscores.
it's 3
Yeah.
underscores is better than 2 underscores. Absolutely. But essentially that's what happened. I was part of a page that I'm no longer part of. I bear no grudges. I hold no grudges. I've got no issues with any decisions that have been made in terms of social media and control. Um, I am now in charge of my own page.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah,
good. That's good because you were separating the brands out anyway, weren't you? So
yeah,
it's
yeah, for
yeah,
real.
yeah,
And I'm very
that's good.
happy with the decision I made about this podcast as well, because a few people were pointing out to me that, I mean, I'm supposed to be promoting a gym and healthy lifestyle whilst drinking a beer and talking about like other things apart from fighting and
Well,
fitness and
there's
what
nothing unhealthy about having a beer.
I know, but there's this perception, I know there's nothing unhealthy about a beer.
Hmm.
The same way that there's nothing unhealthy about a cheeseburger, but with the abuse of either, you can end up becoming alcoholic or morbidly obese. And it's just that perception I kind of wanted to stay away from. And I did get some great advice saying, you're talking about music and concerts and being hungover while drinking a beer. And, I touch on like the phenomenon that is Swiss chocolate, and it just doesn't work when you're trying to promote a gym and be in that fitness realm. And I get it. Like you could make the argument against that opinion, but I do get it. I do understand it. And the fact that I'm not going to go ahead with the actual gym, the previous brand that shall remain nameless,
Hmm.
um, it allows me to sit here on a podcast and still talk about everything that we talked about on previous episodes and now more, because it makes sense because it's just me on my own.
Yeah, no, that works. Because that's the thing. So because it's just me, 'cause with my podcast, it's just me talking. Really, just I come at it as a fan of the sport rather than someone trying to promote any kind of lifestyle whatsoever. So
Yeah.
I can just do whatever I want, really,
Yeah.
which is nice. It is nice. It's,
Yeah. And like when people ask me, what do I talk about on like previous episodes, I can say, all right, the gym, upcoming fights, my opinion on the great Jake Paul. Um, Other things like, hey, I got this concert coming up during the week, and this is how I came to know who this band is and talk about it. My next episode is going to be on Pantera and what they're
Pantera.
doing these days. Very,
What are they?
very
A band?
interesting. What are they, a band? Get out of here with such a fucking statement, sir.
So they're not a band.
They're a band, bro.
But they are a band.
They
Okay,
are a
well, so
band.
I was right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are they a
What?
band?
Why are you getting so mad, bro?
I don't know, bro. Trying to start some beef.
No,
Yeah.
no, we can't have a beef. It'd be too unnatural.
I don't know, man. I could dig up some crap from our ancestors who
I don't
yeah,
care. I don't care
yeah.
about my ancestors. I don't care about yours.
Ah, right.
What?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I just don't care about them.
There you
I'm
go,
I'm
man.
all I'm all about the here and now. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I
like
touched on something. I tried to provoke you, but I failed. I'm going to try again. What's your opinion on Jake Paul? I love the guy. I love what he's doing. I love his message. I don't know. I don't get that same vibe from you. What's your opinion?
I quite like him. I like what he's doing,
All right.
but it is what it is, isn't it? Like let's not pretend that he's fighting. He's doing what he needs to do, i.e., building up his record, padding his record, like all boxers do, because those record. That's why you have people. You don't really have like journeymen in MMA the same way that you have like journeymen in boxing. In boxing, you have journeymen whose job it is to pad the records of the good boxers, and that's just how it works. That's how it's always been. It's how it always will be. And that being said, I'm very much looking forward to Big John Fury versus Jake Paul.
Yeah, man. I think that would be awesome.
So
But a
funny.
spanner in the works here is the recent face off that we saw with Andrew Tate. Do you know who Andrew Tate is?
I actually don't. Was he a
Yeah.
Muay Thai guy?
Well, what he is he's this fucking dude that's been kicked off all platforms because he's sending a message. It's a very controversial message because it doesn't align with 2022 wokeism,
Hmm.
right? Now, he does go to extremes a lot. YouTube some of his videos or Instagram some of his videos where he does refer to women in an incredibly derogatory way in some videos, but then in other videos he's very very respectful and protective over his girl or girlfriend at the time or I don't even know if he's married or whatever, but he's he's essentially like the Paul brothers, like Logan and Jake, very outspoken, got a podcast, millions in the bank, former kickboxer, taekwondo, and is it taekwondo? I always get that wrong.
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo
Yeah.
and kickboxing and Muay Thai. I think he's got something like 32 fights. And they've been talking trash back and forth on social media. Then Andrew got kicked off all platforms, and now he seems to have faced off against Jake Paul at some event, and I think that might be the next one against Jake Paul.
Yeah. So no,
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. How
yeah,
old is this Tate fella?
could be 32, 33 maybe.
Okay, so he's age appropriate, which is odd.
Yeah,
And but he's not a boxer.
he's
You
got
didn't
good
mention.
hands though.
Yeah, but he's not a boxer.
No, no, he's not a boxer. He's
Yeah,
got huge
because
notoriety.
there's a difference between having good hands, like for kickboxing or for MMA, and having good hands being a boxer. There's a huge difference. This is
Yeah,
why Jake Paul has been winning all those fights because there we're seeing there is a clear difference between and we all knew that anyway. There's a huge difference between MMA boxing and and boxing in a ring with gloves on because the timing's different, the footwork's different. It's all different.
yeah.
So and I'm not hating on it. I don't think like I think that Jake Paul is doing exactly the right things. Did I not turn that light on? Let's have a look. I didn't. Oh, look at that. Oh,
Okay,
that's
you
loads
just
better.
got 10 times more beautiful. Holy
Yeah,
Jesus!
no, I'm sorry about that. Very unprofessional, guys.
It's all right,
Just,
man.
I just looked up and I noticed. I was like, "Ah, the light's not on. Damn it!" And I thought, you know what? I've noticed it now. I might as well put the light on.
There you go,
But yeah,
man.
he's
We can start
but
again and just edit everything.
no, no, no,
All right.
no. I like this. People will find it funny or
There you go.
endearing, or they'll be like, "Wow, what a knobhead."
But yeah, Jake
Whatever.
is Jake really is he's digging in and he's keeping people interested. He's got a great message, dude. I know we talked about fighter pay before,
Hmm.
but with the monopoly that is UFC and he's talking about these guys who should be making way, way more based on what they bring. They're talking about like a fighters union and like a setup that he could afford to set up, which other fighters can't afford to set up.
What does he pay his undercard fighters?
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I
That was on
don't
the Lost
know.
podcast.
That was the last one, yeah.
Mm.
We looked that up and it was
And it's
undisclosed.
unavailable.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
which is
undisclosed.
goes to your point where it would be, if it was large, it would be out there.
Yeah. The fighter pay thing, right? Look, I think that again, I've said this before on non-lost podcasts as well, but everybody should get paid more. Like I think the problem is pay overall, but I don't think there's a huge problem with fighter pay in the UFC. It just gets spread around. It gets spread about more
Yeah,
because the thing is, it's like people talk about, oh, the Bellator pay 50% of their revenue to their fighters. It's like, number one, that is why their product is quite frankly like 10 years behind the UFC. That's why their product is so lacking because they don't invest correctly in it. That's why the UFC put on the best show in the business because they invest in the product, in the marketing, in the people to behind the scenes, the editors, the graphics designers, all those people they invest heavily in, and they also invest in the fighters as well. Because the thing is, it's like on a Bellator card, yeah, you've got like a handful of Bellator fighters that earn good money. And guess what? Most of them have in common. They all fought for the UFC. So that UFC branding, that UFC marketing machine must be useful for something. All these fighters, these ungrateful fucks, they come out and they say, oh, the UFC, they don't pay me. They're fucking, they're useless. They're a bunch of, blood sucking like leeches and whatever. It's like, no, not really, because they invest so much in the marketing machine, which
yeah,
makes a name out of a lot of these fighters. Look, you tell me Corey Anderson would be getting paid what he's getting paid in Bellator if he didn't have the moniker of ex-UFC fighter Corey Anderson. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
yeah, okay, I get it. They have to be loyal to their new promotion and everything like that. But people put these blinkers on when it comes to UFC. Look, I'm not saying that they're paid like enough or if they're overpaid or if they're underpaid. I'm saying we don't know because we don't have the detailed like profit and loss forms. The only people that know that for sure are the UFC accountants, right? And I guarantee that they have paid those guys a lot of money to ensure that the fighters are not paid badly, they're paid accordingly.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, like they invest quite heavily in the fighters as an unknown quantity. Like, okay, the ceiling is lower, but the floor is much higher because
mhm.
in boxing, the ceiling astronomical, but the floor is like much lower. The floor is like
Basic, right?
is
Yeah,
through the floor. Do you know what I mean? That you get like there's I mean on a lot of these fight cards, these boxing fight cards, you look down like you look at the disclosed purses on the fight cards that will disclose the purses. And outside of the main event, most of the guys they're getting paid 500 quid, maybe 1500.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And they're getting smacked in the face for a living still, but no one's crying foul of that. Jake Paul isn't complaining about the pay structure in boxing, and I understand and appreciate that it's more difficult in boxing because of the different promotions, and no one's got a real monopoly. You've got the WBC, so there's not one monopoly over it,
yeah,
and the promoters get like kind of in leagues with the boxers. It's a completely different system, completely different to the way the UFC operates.
yeah.
And there are so many benefits that the UFC operates. Join, name me a boxing promotion that offers fighters the chance to go and train in their state of the art facility, have their meals made, paid for, have their meals prepped for them by top level nutritionists, so who have all these brilliant facilities. Name me a boxing organization that does that.
Solid fucking points, man. That's it. That's why I like talking to you, man. I come on these shows and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hit Burt with fucking, and he just like throws it back at me with facts. That's what I say to my wife if we're having a dispute or an argument. I always go, well, if you're gonna hit me with this facts and logic, I'm not gonna talk to you. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
I
But
want raw emotion. Pickles will prevail.
Was that Simpsons?
No, it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
They
Yeah.
they renamed themselves the Pickle Party, and
Yeah.
their motto is "Pickles will prevail."
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I was upset, man. I was upset all week last week, and I'm equally as upset today with the music industry, man. So many shows that I had tickets for, or so many shows that I didn't specifically buy a ticket for because I knew something would happen. It's all still happening, but it's not COVID related now. It's the price of travel and transport rent and venue rent, especially in Switzerland. There are no shows coming to Switzerland over the next 6 months, man. It's depressing. Concerts are
Yeah.
my thing.
It's like I actually had a new bit about that in my stand up where I was like,
Yeah.
say it's a new bit. It was based one of the other comics who was talking about how they was trying to find a good career for his girlfriend's younger brother, and just like, and she got mad at him because he suggested drug dealer. And I was just like, and I was like, people say that drug dealers are kind of they're damaging communities. They're horrible. They destroy lives. It's like, oh no, they haven't hiked their prices up 300% and then posted about their record profits. So, oh,
There you go,
ooh.
man.
It's like,
A solid bit.
it's,
Yeah. But
it's
it's Metallica, right? Metallica was the icing on the cake for me today with this whole fucking argument. Over the summer, Metallica were supposed to play in Switzerland. Um, and 8 hours before the show, they cancelled because someone in their camp tested positive. One person tested positive for the fucking sniffles. And
Jesus
the whole
Christ.
show, well, like the whole show went ahead except Metallica. It was like this, not a Sonosphere festival, but it was like some festival in northern Zurich. And you could either get a full refund or you could go and get like 10 or 20 bucks off your entrance, get like cash at the door. And I thought, okay, well, this is going to be good because when Metallica have a new tour, they're going to make it up to the Swiss fans because that's what you're supposed to fucking do. World tour announced today, no Swiss date, and I was fucking irate, right? I get home and they released a new song on YouTube, and it's fucking unbelievable. Thrash
What was it
metal
called?
killer. It's called
I Hate Switzerland.
it could be that. I wouldn't fucking it could rename it that. I think it's some weird name like La Lux Iteria. Luxiteria, some fucking weird name anyway. It makes no sense.
Which
But
is
it's old
Latin for
school.
"We're never coming to Switzerland."
There you go, man. Fucking bastards. But I was irate, but then I listened to the song and I'm like, well, I guess I'll catch him the next time. But they're going to play in Munich, and I'm thinking it's a Friday night in May, and I'm thinking about getting a train. It's a 5-hour train journey. Just take the day
But
off
that's a
work.
fun train journey,
Oh, yeah. I
drinking
don't know.
beers, and also because I've been thinking about this because my parents not that long ago they went to I can't remember exactly where they went, but they got a train rather than flying. They got the train to Paris and Paris to wherever else they were going. I was like, you can get an unbelievable like distance on a train from
Oh,
here. And it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it was slightly more expensive, but I can imagine what you don't have to deal with airport security. You don't have to deal with any of that bullshit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have that horrible airplane kind of feeling like where you just like you're
Yeah.
just sitting on a train with your buddies, just sinking a few beers, watching the scenery go by. It just, I don't know. There sounds something great about that.
Well, I mean, if you look at what like the logistics of travel, right? Ireland is an island, like a small island. I mean, you could say the same for the UK, right? But here, like where I'm situated in Lucerne, I can just decide at 12 o'clock tomorrow, hey, I want to get a pizza in Milan. I could just
Yeah,
get like a 3.5 hour train to Milan, have a pizza, and come home and be in bed for 9 or 10 o'clock.
yeah. Italy and Switzerland are not far apart because,
We're right on the border. We have a
yeah,
border.
yeah, yeah. Because
Um, a relative of mine lives in Paris. You can get the TGV train from where I am. I think it's to the border, like an hour, hour and a half, and then another 2.5 hours to Paris. I can just be in Paris in 2.5 hours on a train.
yeah, that sounds pretty
Flawless.
great. To be fair,
Yeah.
I think actually from London you can get to Paris pretty quickly on the train.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I think it's like 3.5, maybe 4 hours or something, or maybe even
I,
less. I don't know.
I don't think it's even that. I think it
Yeah, yeah,
might be sub 2 hours
yeah.
from London. Don't quote me on that. I could be way out here because I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm not basing this on any facts. So I've come at this with no facts,
It's unusual for
which is
you.
unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I went to I saw Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. I saw him in a place called Lurrock. Um, when they announced Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters, um, I saw no Swiss date and I immediately got fucking depressed. But then I started searching border like countries where he's playing, and I'm like, I'd go see Robert Plant anywhere because I'm a huge Zeppelin fan, and they play Zeppelin on this gig. And Lurrock is essentially still in Basel, which is in Switzerland. It's just over the border. So I got a
Oh, okay.
train to Basel and like another like 5 minute train to my hotel. Saw the show, stayed in the hotel. I was back to work the next morning.
That sounds really good, actually.
Yeah,
So,
phenomenal. So if you ever want to come here, Bert, you can just get the train, fuck flights and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
yeah, to be fair, because flying is it's quicker, but actually, once you take into account like all the security, like all the kind of waiting around to get on the flight because you have to get there 2 hours early and all the rest of it, actually, I don't think you save as much time as you think. The expense is probably a bit more expensive on the train, but yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to look into it in the future because I think that train travel is I like trains. I like sitting on a train. Sitting
Yeah.
on a train if you've got a reserved seat with a table, put your iPad on or whatever, or just watch the scenery, have a couple of beers, just chill out.
Talk
Just
to a stranger.
yeah, no, perish the thought. No eye contact, eyes down.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. I got a train from Switzerland to, I think we went to Vienna. Was it Vienna? Yeah, Vienna, Austria. The night trains where you get like a little bed, you like leave Zurich at like 10 o'clock and you end up in Vienna 9 hours later, but you get your breakfast on the train, but you sleep side to side and they're in the little carriages. So it's either your feet or your head getting banged every time the train gets like sidetracked. Horrible experience, claustrophobic, but so cheap. I think it was something like $30
Was
to.
it like being in a coffin that just
Oh, it's
rattled around?
horrible. Yeah. Everyone, like, we shared with two other people, like a father daughter, and like the smell of socks. It was fucking horrible.
Ugh. Yeah,
Ugh.
no, yeah, that sounds trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I can go on a long journey, like let's say I'm going to go to Metallica now in Munich, um, not one of those carriages with the beds, but just a seat with my headphones and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Bliss, fucking bliss.
Yeah,
That'd be
I'd be all over that. Plus, Munich is a fun place.
yeah.
Munich is fantastic. Like beer halls, man,
There you go, man.
wonderful.
Get the big steins with the
Yeah,
fucking yeah.
because they had an NFL game there just very recently, the
Yeah.
Buccaneers against the Seahawks, and I'll tell you what, it looked sensational. Like because I think they had it at Bayern Munich Stadium, which is huge, which is ridiculous. And it just looked like a great atmosphere. It was the first regular season game they'd done in Germany, and there was a real demand for it. 700,000 people wanted tickets to that game, but
Yeah.
obviously only 100,000 are in the stadium, so it's difficult to get tickets. But
Yeah.
I think it did look like fun.
There you
But
go,
yeah,
man.
but before I forget, what do you think about the new UFC 282 main event?
I haven't been
All
keeping
changed
up
up,
to
hasn't
date.
it?
Who is it? What is it? What's happening?
Oh, because right, because Jiri Prochaska obviously got injured, and fair play to him. I actually, I low key respect what he did because I read into it at first, but because I didn't see that it was an injury, I just saw that he was withdrawn, and obviously there's been quite a big thing about. I know Chael Sonnen's been saying some shit, but Chael Sonnen says a lot of shit, and but
Mhm.
about like how he's been tested. He's been tested 62 times in 2022. That seems like a
Wow.
lot,
Oh
and it
yeah, he
seems
was
like
saying that. Yeah.
and but Chael Sonnen said that's because they're looking for something, and he knows what it is they're looking for. And I was just like, huh. So when I first saw that, oh, he's been withdrawn and vacated, because all it said was Jiri Prochaska vacates the title. I thought, oh, Jesus, what did they catch him on? And
Mm.
no, it wasn't. It was an injury, and
Shoulder
he
injury or
did,
something, right?
yeah, and he did the honourable thing and just said, look, I'll I've said to Dana White, I want first dibs on a title shot when I come back, but I'm not going to hold up the division. That's not fair to the other guys out there. So I'll relinquish the title. I'll come back and I'll get the title back when I'm healthy. But yeah, sorry to let everyone down. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that
you
sucks. I
know
just
what?
see it's Ankalaev and Jan Blachach. How do you pronounce his last name? I have a
Jan
Polish wife. I should
Blachowicz,
know
I think.
this. Blachowicz. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he stepped in. That's an interesting match. I think it's Ankalaev's going to get the title on that one.
I mean, yes. On the face of it,
Favorite?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, heavy favorite, yes.
Yeah.
But one thing before, like, with Jiri Prochaska, obviously immediately just vacating the title because he wants to do the right thing for the division. Francis Ngannou's just like,
Good point. I love
but
it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah. For me, yeah, I think on the face of it, Ankalaev is going to be the heavy favorite, rightfully so. But you cannot count Jiri Prochaska out of that fight. Like Jiri Prochaska has some real equalizers, and like I would, whether even if your name is Ankalaev, you get caught with that straight right hand that the Blakovic
Blachowicz,
throws.
yeah.
I don't know why I just blanked on his name. Like honestly, my brain must be going to mush.
That's all right.
Yeah, so
Monday.
I do feel like yeah, Ankalaev is probably better in every area, but that power that Prochaska, I keep thinking saying Prochaska. God damn it! What is the matter with me?
But
Right, but
isn't Ankalaev? He's from Dagestan.
I don't know if he's from Dagestan. He's definitely Russian at the very least.
Did you hear Khabib during the week talking about this Irish guy says that he come to take over. Now we're taking
Yeah,
over.
and then it looked like Conor did some cocaine, and then it got on Twitter.
There you go, man.
Just look at me, the lion
Oh,
waiting to come out. He's like the
such a
nobody's beaten
twat.
there. He's not defeated there. It's
He's
just
such
like
a twat, man.
I
Paddy
don't care if
Pimblett
he
versus Jared Gordon. That's going to be,
interesting because Jared
yeah,
Gordon's very very high level jujitsu.
yeah.
Obviously, so is Paddy. Because
Paddy's a
normally
slow
Paddy,
starter.
yeah, normally he relies on his jujitsu to be the equalizer. And I don't know if it's the equalizer that it normally is against Jared Gordon. So I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that one. But
What do you think about John Jones and the whole just the whole mystique behind what's going on right now with John Jones' return, not having an opponent, Stipe's issues, Francis Ngannou, like they're talking about Francis now is going to re-sign. Francis said he wanted out, and if he was going to come back, he's got to have a contract clause about boxing. Uh,
oh yes,
John,
I'm sure they'll do that, Francis. I'm sure they'll do that. Fucking
yeah,
idiot.
man, it doesn't make
Because
sense, right? Because he got very diva like when he became the champion, apparently.
it did, yeah.
And what are we seeing now? We're seeing him give unrealistic demands to the UFC. He's not released from his contract as of yet. I believe he's still not a free agent.
Not until December
Yeah, because of the
because of the clause.
clause based on injury as well, right?
Yeah. So
So I don't know, man.
for me, I think Francis Ngannou needs better management
Yeah.
personally because the way he comes out, he just doesn't do himself any favors. He's earned quite a lot. Like to be fair, I mean, again, he's earned. I've seen what he's earned just in purses alone. That's not including. That's not including sponsorship and pay per view points. And before anybody says, "Oh, UFC fighters can't have sponsors," incorrect. They have shit tons of sponsors. They just don't have them on their shorts. They still get massive sponsorship deals for advertising stuff on Instagram, things like that. And they get huge deals because why? They're in the premier MMA organization on the planet. So the good sponsors still want them. So yeah, again, that's another thing. I hate it. Oh, but the other organizations they get to have sponsors. It's like yeah, they get to have like whatever sponsors or pick up the scraps. You know what I mean? Just yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a lot. Sorry, I've got hot
You
there.
get so
Hot there.
emotional, dude. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Express yourself, sir. I love it.
But yeah, so for me, Francis, he doesn't do himself any favors when he comes, especially when he comes out and says like stupid things like, "Oh, I have to borrow money now for my next training camp because the UFC don't pay me properly." It's like, Francis, you cleared like 3 million in purses alone in the last 2 years, and so if you haven't put enough of that money aside to afford a training camp, that is on you. Like, Joe, do you understand that people get by on 35,000 a year? They get by, they pay their bills, they go to the gym. A lot of them, like they people, regular folk get by on 35,000 a year. You can't take some of your 3 million over your past 2 years. You can't take one of your 1.5 million a year purses alone. I might add, it's probably double that when you look at pay per view points and sponsors and things like that. You can't take any of that money and think ahead. You know,
Yeah, man.
that's not the UFC's problem. That is a Francis Ngannou budgeting problem, and that is frankly down to his management. I think he's got some bad people around him. Honestly, I think he's got some people around him that like to spend his money, that just always tell him yes, that keep on telling, yeah, you know, definitely get into a massive fight with your employer. That's a good move. Get into a massive fight with the biggest organization that you'll fight for. Chase a boxing match with Tyson Fury. When was the
Yeah.
last time you heard Tyson Fury mention Francis Ngannou, just out of interest?
Yeah, yeah, for real. Yeah,
Because
it's a
he's
huge
lost
topic
interest
for
in that fight.
discussion.
That fight will never happen. He's like, oh, but Francis, oh, I'll make 15 million. Well, someone was saying that he would make 40 million from a fight with Tyson Fury. No, he would. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like there's no way that he makes that because well, the thing is they're pulling that figure out because they were saying, well, Deontay Wilder made 40 million from a fight with Francis Ngannou. Not being funny, but like Francis Ngannou is not the A side in that; he's the B side. And
Yeah.
Tyson Fury he'll be lucky if he gets offered a 20% purse, and the purse in total probably isn't going to be much more than about 35, 40 million. And
Yeah, it's kind of
Tyson Fury will
fictitious
keep,
just to get people interested as well, too, right?
yeah, and it won't. That fight is not. People just like they keep people go, oh, but that's the fight everyone wants to see. Do they?
Not
I
really.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm a huge mixed martial arts nut. I know who Francis Ngannou is.
Who does
Most people don't.
who does Conor McGregor fight when he comes back?
Uh,
Because
Anthony
Conor
Smith.
no, 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 no. Artem Lobov's lawyer. Who does Conor
Yeah.
McGregor fight when he comes back to ensure his victory? He has to win the next fight. If he does not win the next fight, he needs to just delete his fucking social media and go live under that rock where he keeps the boat because a loss now is it's a nail in the coffin.
Honestly, I don't think that's quite right. I don't think that a loss. I don't think. Thing is, he's lost so many times now. A loss doesn't really matter. People will tune in to his next fight and the fight after and the fight after. He is too big of a star. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses, which is why you should probably put him against Chandler, honestly, because Chandler, he's another one. Doesn't really matter if he wins or loses. Now Chandler's for a different way, right? Because whether you like him or not, Conor McGregor brings a weird energy to fights. He it's a palpable energy. It's one that there isn't anybody else that really replicates. He just brings this absolute event to the stage, and that's the reason he gets paid what he does. And for that reason, I don't think a loss actually hurts him at this point. I think he's
Right.
lost enough now where another loss doesn't hurt him. Like people, like he would have 6 months off. People will forget. People have very short memories of the fight game. People will forget. He'll come back and fight someone else, maybe lose again. Doesn't even
Yeah.
matter if he wins another fight in his career.
Hear me
But
out on this one. Hear me out on this one. If he fights Chandler, he loses, and exactly what happens with is what you just said. It doesn't matter. He move on. He'll fight someone else. If he wants a win, he'll fight Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, but poor Tony.
Poor Tony, but they're
Yeah.
both on horrific losses. They're both
Yeah.
towards the end of their career. They're both phenomenal trash talkers. I think that's the fight to make.
Oh, good Lord. Sorry, my roommate.
All right. I can
I
edit
told her.
that out.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's who else? Yeah, who else?
I think Tony is the way to go. I think I would love to see that fight.
Dominic Reyes?
Dominic Reyes would pop a squat on Connor's forehead and slap him over the chin, and Connor wouldn't be able to do a single thing about it.
Connor's walking around at 265.
Oh, that just even hearing the Dublin accent, it hurts. It gives me a migraine. It makes me want to take an ibuprofen or something. It's
Yeah.
horrible, and I every now and
I've
again he
already
pops
taken
up
a lot of ibuprofen today, to be fair.
today. Right, it's because of your
Fucking
neck.
my neck really is. I'm on the old Nurophens. They're great though.
There you go, man.
They do help.
They do.
But
I took one. I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, and I'll never forget. It was the most manliest injury I've ever had in my life. It was about 9, maybe 10 o'clock at night. I was getting off the couch to go to the bathroom. I had a beer on the floor. I left this noise like ah. My wife said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just standing up," and I sneezed and popped out my like my lat muscle or something like that. Knocked the beer
ah,
over, took the ibuprofen, and dude, I felt fucking fantastic for 6 hours.
yeah. Yeah. See,
Yeah,
thing is that yeah. Last night I was washing them down with beers as well, so I decided to not have any beers tonight.
yeah,
There's but yeah, what was? Oh, I was. When we were talking about Reyes, I remember thinking just then, like, what's a good fight for Reyes? Oh, I know, the guy Zuzukwu, the guy who just beat Kutalebra.
is he
You
South
see that
African
fight?
guy?
Nigerian, I think.
Nigerian. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I was saying that he needs really another. He needs a fight in the because I don't think Kutalebra was ranked. Not that I could tell anyway. Is he
Right.
shouldn't have been even if he was. But it's, but I was saying, yeah, who did you get next? Like maybe Reyes, and I was like, oh, that's a tough fight for Reyes though, and I kind of feel for him because it's just, oh no,
Yeah.
he's sliding down this hill and he cannot. He's trying to get his ice picks in anywhere, get some form of grip, and he's just
Yeah,
ah,
man.
it's tough to watch.
Our next,
I
our ne-
always, yeah. Sorry, I was saying, I always did say for quite a while that even when he was getting in that fight against John Jones, I was like, it's too soon for Reyes to get the fight with John Jones.
Mm,
He's not actually as good as people think that he is. He's had some pretty favourable opponents that have kind of really worked towards his skill set, and and I think that's kind of been exposed. To be
yeah.
fair,
It's a shame
when
because he
all of
did so well against that fucking John Jones dude.
he did
Yeah,
do well
man.
against John Jones. Still lost though.
But nonetheless, man, what next episode I want to do with you is talk about like, and you're gonna laugh at this, things I like about Conor McGregor, funny Conor McGregor moments, because I throw a lot of shit at Conor because I hate him with a fucking passion. But there's a lot of funny moments that I would love to touch on, and that I think it would make a pretty good episode if I can bury some sort of hatchet, throw up a white flag, and just say, Bert, listen, I want to tell you about this Irish guy that I hate so much.
Yeah, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
right.
think of like, I mean,
Not
the
now.
the main ones I like that pop into
Not
my head
now.
are like, yeah, no, we'll discuss it briefly now. But it's like the funniest bits are the ones that are the famous bits. Like, who the fuck is that guy? You
Yeah,
know, all
yeah.
that kind of shit.
That's it,
All right,
man.
I'll try and go deeper. We'll go deeper. We'll go into Connor's B
That's
side
what she
hits.
said. Yeah, sure, man.
We could
But
call it Connor's B side hits.
Connor's B-side hits. I love it,
Yeah.
man. Fucking beautiful. Tell people, Bert, where you are, what you're doing, who you are, what you're about, what you put out there to the world that I love so much.
Well, I do 2 podcasts a week. It's called The Burt Locker. It's on YouTube. I also have an Instagram account, the underscore Burt underscore Green. That's mostly promoting comedy dates and things like that. With although the calendar's pretty bare, I still do stand up once in a while. which is always good fun. And yeah, I've also on Twitter, but yeah, I only post stuff on there. What else am I on? I'm sure I'm on something else, TikTok, but that's only
Facebook.
like I am on Facebook, yeah. But on my Facebook, the Burt Green, the page on Facebook, I mostly just repost memes. I love memes. Memes
That's,
are so funny.
that's how
Like,
we communicate these days.
yeah, no, to be
Some of
fair,
my best friends, dude, I haven't asked them how they're doing in years. I just send them funny memes and they send them back to me, and that's how we communicate. I've got friends who don't know I have kids. And like sometimes I forget, and they're like, "Yeah, you have kids." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, we've sent memes to each other for the last 6 years. How would you know?"
there are people that I just communicate with in memes. And
There you go.
yeah, I love a good meme. They're absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant.
man. That's it, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on the DT podcast. Uh,
DT
it's a
Dave
pleasure to
talks.
be here. And Dave talks. I think I'm going to go with Dave's take because I don't want to get into any other legal issues. You know what I mean?
What is it? Is it Dave talk? What is there a Dave talks already?
Well, there's Dave's talk and there's TED Talks. And
That's a combination of the two.
my issue would have been if it was going to work, I'd have to use the same font or a font similar. So if I stick with Dave's take, there's nothing similar to Dave's take out there. So it's pretty goddamn original.
Yeah,
Keeping the initials DT solidifies my anonymity,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
sounds good.
But again, here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Unfollow at DT underscore podcast and follow me on at DT underscore podcast. Is it confusing? Stop
Yes.
now, come back about 10 and just rewatch what I just said. My microphone just popped out. Did it just pop back in?
You did, yeah, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. It's fucking annoying. But that's what I'm doing, guys. I'm taking control of my own destiny here, solidifying my own Instagram page, which will obviously be promoted through my own Facebook page as well. And there's my Instagram page. There's the DT Podcast Instagram page. And then there's me in person. If you see me in person and want something signed, he's being pretentious. I know I am. But that's not the point. The point is, I'll sign anything you want. I don't care. Bert, I'll sign your T-shirt, your Chocolate Del T-shirt, if you ever decide to come over here for a beer. It's a fact.
But I like this T-shirt.
You
Can
do.
I bring a different T-shirt, like
Bring
one I
another
don't wear?
T-shirt, man. I'll sign anything you want, bro. No problem. If I sign your arm, will you get the signature tattooed?
Could you sign this blank check? Ooh.
That's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining us here on the DT, not the DT podcast, excuse me. It's just DT podcast on YouTube.
DT
We're
podcast.
off all other platforms. I am not doing Apple Podcasts and I'm not doing Spotify anymore. Those woke bastards can suck a fat one.
Oh, really?
Absolutely,
What's happened
man.
there?
I don't know, man. I'm sticking conservative. I'm gonna update my Twitter. Gonna start going on the Elon Musk side of life.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to be fair. Oh, one
Yeah.
thing I would say, guys, when you're unfollowing the DT underscore podcast, make sure that you send them like a horrible message with a few racial slurs thrown in there. Just fun.
No. We like to keep things. We like to keep things respectful. If you're going to throw any
sorry.
horrible comments or anything racist, throw it my direction.
Yeah.
I love a good laugh.
Sorry, I assumed.
You should never assume. You know what assuming does? It makes an ass out of you and me.
I would argue that assumptions are often correct. So in the long run, it saves you a lot of time if you just assume.
There you go. Let me assume my ass out of here, man, because I'm tired. Bert, thank you very much for joining me, man. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Rock and roll, guys. Have a good one.